Hey, yeah, I just thought I'd make a little video and like show you how I would go about like putting in right nodes and exporting and stuff. Yeah, so this will be your scene with like your different elements and stuff in the node library, and you need a right node. That's how you like export stuff, as you've probably worked out by now. Um, you can go into the node library, and that's where it's kept, and you can like just type in right to like go to the shortcut and find it and just drag it in. Or if your shortcuts are working properly, you can just like have your cursor over this area and press enter, and that brings up like a shortcut window as well. Right. So right nodes basically export everything that's attached to it. So everything in this scene is attached to a composite. So all this stuff that I've got, all my different elements, are being fed into this one composite, which is basically like a way of grouping things together and putting them on one layer, like funneling them into one thing. So you can like apply a lot of different effects to a lot of different things at once. You just attach them all to the composite instead of attaching them all individually to, I don't know, like effects and stuff. But if I were to render this right node right now, it would export everything in one single layer attached to it because all these things are funneled down into one composite. If I want to write them all out individually, I'll have to get some more right nodes. So I'll just copy and paste this one because I've already got it. And say like I've got the props, the trash pile in the background. I'll just attach my right node to that, and that way I can write that out on its own individual layer. And if we pick the right file format, like a TGA or a TIF or a PNG, basically anything that allows for transparency, it'll write out without the white background. It'll write out with a transparent background, which is what we want for compositing. Um, so yeah, I haven't experimented too much with the file types, but a lot of them are pretty similar. It's just kind of like some of them take up a lot more space than others because of like their color bit depth and stuff. I know EXR is a pretty intensive one, but that's used for like really high end, like I don't know, like 8K, like huge resolution, like high quality renders and stuff. So we probably don't need to use that. We could probably get away with something smaller, like a PNG. But even those are pretty large in itself. So I don't know. There are ways around this if push comes to shove, and we just can't get it rendering on our machines. You could like export as JPEGs or even like write, I don't know, write it out as a video. I don't know. We'd have to kind of look into that, but yeah. So if we want to export all these individual elements out, yeah, on separate sequences, uh, we'd have to make a right node for each of them. So I've got my shadows here for Gaza. So if I want to render that out as well, I'll just get another right node and attach it. Same thing with Gaza himself, another right node. Same thing with the shadows for Shano. Same for Shano himself. And you can, if you click on the little yellow box, it'll bring up like the options for it, and you can actually like name these properly, which helps a lot, just for like working out what you're exporting and stuff. So you just change the name up here. And this is where like you've probably worked this out already, but this is where you change like the format and stuff. And yeah, you choose where you want to export it to. You can change like the prefix and stuff. You can change the leading zeros, which is basically all you really need to kind of separate them and order them as a sequence. And that's all good as well. You can also like just export it straight as a video, which is how I've kind of like shortcutted in the past. So so you don't have to. It doesn't export it as a sequence of images. It exports it like as a straight video file, so it's all compiled together, which is useful for like just saving time, not having to really composite it later. But yeah, it has its limitations. Like obviously, it's all stuck together, and you can't like do things to the separate elements later on if you need to. So if there's a problem with something, you need to rewrite the whole thing instead of just rewriting a single part of it. Yeah, so image sequence, have that ticked. Another little trick here is the display node, which is pretty useful. It basically um, it lets you select up here what you want to look at in the camera. So this one is display, it's called. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. If I create, I'll just copy and paste it. If I create another one of these and attach it to the trash, I'm just going to call this trash for now. So we have a display node attached to the trash. If I go up here now, there should be a display node, an option called trash, and it helps you isolate and look at what you're actually exporting or what you're actually working on. So this will be good for like actually seeing what you're exporting. So I'll just take that away, and I'll attach that to the shadow. So all we're seeing is the shadow now. Or yeah, it's just like an easy way to see what it is you're actually exporting, which could be useful just in case like the scene's kind of cluttered and you're not really sure what exactly will be output once you export. So that's a good little trick there. Yeah, and once you've got like your right nodes in there, I have a feeling you can maybe export multiple nodes at once. But yeah, to export, you just go up here, File, Export, Render Right Nodes. Yeah, I think it does them all at once, actually. All the right nodes that you have in there, I believe. Could have sworn you could select which ones you wanted, but I don't know. And yeah, you select the frames that you want to export. So up here should show you the current frame that you're on, and like the start and stop of your, like in the timeline. You've got like your kind of work area that you're looking at, and that's represented by this little red, these red kind of handles that we want at the start and one at the end, and you can drag them, which like isolates the work area on the timeline. And yeah, it's like setting an in out in like After Effects or Premiere or whatever. It's basically the same thing. And yeah, you wanna make sure when you export, you're exporting the right segment. So yeah, it'll be from like the start of the segment to the end of the segment, and the up here will tell you that information. And you just make sure you're doing that properly. Otherwise, you're not going to get the right stuff exported. And yeah, once you export stuff, it'll come out in whatever file, whatever folder you selected to put it out in. So that'll be, you choose the folder here, and you'll get a whole bunch of images. Probably, however many frames you exported, you'll get a whole bunch of images to work with. And then you go into like After Effects or something, and then you go to import, and then I'm sure you know how to like import a sequence, but I'm just going to tell you anyway. You click on the first frame, the first image of the sequence you want to import, and there'll be a little like box you can tick down here called Import a Sequence, and that will allow it. So when you click on the first image and import it, it'll import all of those images, but it'll import it as a sequence instead of individual files. And that's how you do it. You might have to do a little bit of testing to work out which format is the best for this. Again, like I've only really exported as JPEGs, and like the whole kind of scene as a JPEG, like it didn't require any transparency. And that's good because it's a really small file size, but it's also like the bigger, the higher resolution it is, the more it gets kind of compressed, and that's why it's like a bad format to use for like professional work. But yeah, we might be able to get away with that, depending on what we're exporting, whether it requires transparency or not. But yeah, anyway, I hope this helped to some degree. Yeah.